So a short while ago, the college I attend invited a controversial speaker. You might have heard of him, Mr. Brexit. Inviting also a lot of controversy, because Mr. Nigel Brexit says mean things. Like,
you have the charisma of a damp rag and the appearance of a low-grade bank clerk.
Reminder, Mr. Brexit, real name Nigel Farage, is a British politician and former leader of the UK Independence Party, who led a referendum to leave the European Union because he didn't like them feds in Brussels and wanted to return power over things like trade and borders back to the UK. He's also best buddies with this guy. Nigel's speaking event, originally cited for October, was initially cancelled due to backlash from sensitive students. Until Nigel said, fuck these dildos, and decided to come anyway. One problem remained though. The snowflakes have stirred up such a ruckus the last time a speaker they didn't like arrived on campus, and given how edgy Mr. Brexit is, one could expect this sort of thing to happen again. It got me thinking. I like free speech, and I kinda like those students who invited Nigel too, and if a vegan-friendly meat wall blocked the entrance to the venue like last time, then none of us, including Mr. Brexit, would be able to get in. So I thunk up a plan and I computered it hard, and had a dumb idea that would only fool a gay retard. And also the Irish media and a bunch of students attending apparently one of the better colleges in the world. I went about setting up my own protest event on Facebook using an Antifa page I made. All together with a crudely photoshopped cover photo and a description where I call Nigel a racist a whole bunch of times. But there was one crucial difference between my protest event and the speaking event. Both featured Nigel's face on the cover photo, both featured his name in the title. Both took place on the same day and were to be attended by sexless beta males. But my protest event, wait for it, was scheduled for the wrong time. 5:30 PM to be exact, whereas Nigel's speaking event was scheduled to start at 3 o'clock, 2.5 hours earlier. I didn't really expect this event to go very far, but then all of a sudden, dozens of people clicked attending, including an actual fucking senator. Yeah, one of those guys who do politicking in the Senate. And then I started getting messages from all these people in the media through my Antifa page, and at first I hesitated. But caving to peer pressure from my totally real friends, and for tell-alls, I responded. The first message I got was from one of my college's newspapers, who, to their credit, were smart enough to call BS on my event. But then I got a second message, and it was from a professional national news company called Joe. That's its actual name, Joe. Which is kind of like Ireland's BuzzFeed in that it's pretty left-leaning, unreliable when it comes to factual reporting, but spreads like wildfire across the internet with sensationalized headlines, yada yada yada. So I gave a generic, practically copy-pasta statement to Joe. The exact same that I'd given to the student paper. Calling Nigel Farage a racist, comparing him to British Nazi leader Oswald Mosley, but I was also very careful to emphasize that my imaginary protest intended no violence whatsoever, because it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt or the police get involved.
That's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast.
They bought it. Everything down to the incorrect time. It was later changed to 3 PM on the day before the protest, and I forgot to archive it at the time, so the image I'm using here is a pic sent to me from my good friend Architectural Revival. The article and my LARP protest event spread onto Irish Reddit, then onto Irish Twitter, all over Facebook before making it back to my college, where real left-wing student groups organized their own protests, also with the incorrect time. Together with an events page and posters professionally printed out and hung all around the campus. At this point, I thought I'd resolved to warn some of the people who knew the students hosting the Nigel event that my protest wasn't real. Didn't want this thing to backfire. I also attracted the attention of the real Antifa Ireland, who call themselves AFA Ireland, who initially tweeted out my fake event and statement to Joe.ie, thinking it was one of their guys. We're not exactly dealing with clever people here. They are a group who thinks dressing up in black and committing violence in the name of suppressing political dissent is anti-fascism. 2 days before Nigel Farage's speech, people finally started to wise up. I got another message from a different student news site who asked me why I had the incorrect times, to which I replied, I'd investigate why. And I gotta hand it to them, they published an article shortly afterwards calling me out on my bullshit. And it's pretty cool that a student-run news site has more integrity than a nationwide professional one. They were contacted themselves by AFA Ireland's Facebook page, who claims that AFA Ireland Twitter wasn't real. It was also pointed out in the article that the page I'd been communicating from had no posts prior to setting up the protest and had like 12 likes. No idea how Joe.ie missed that one.
You're a fucking idiot.
Serious props to the students who weren't fooled, but the damage was already done. They think they thwarted my dastardly plan, but not really. Not only did I get to see Mr. Brexit live in the flesh without being interrupted by protests,
Where you came from?
I also gotta have some lulls. Many lulls. And then there was the fact that I exposed a professional Irish media outlet as ironically unprofessional fake news. I also helped promote the event by spawning a whole bunch of coverage because of people anticipating a protest. They even had some police hanging out in the college cafeteria in case Antifa did actually show up. Fortunately, they weren't needed and got to enjoy their donuts and coffee, while all 5 of the well-bathed protesters shouted at Nigel as he arrived at the venue.
Where you came from?
Leftist student groups called off their protests due to confusion, and even a politician of Ireland's government party showed up at 5:30, missing the speech, but unfortunately this wasn't the senator I mentioned earlier. So I guess the meaning to take away from the story is, if a controversial speaker is coming to your college and you don't want it to be cancelled because of Trigglypuff and friends, set up a fake events page. It worked for me.